time for the Morning Watch.
Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org, and if you're overseas and on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you're in the UK, 0330-332-6541, or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. In the first watch today, a United States of the Caribbean. Is this the solution to the problems in the Caribbean? And in the second watch, what happens when prayer answers to the law? For our social media question, we ask, would you want to see or be a part of a United States of the Caribbean? And tell us why. Share your responses on our Love 101 FM Facebook page and YouTube channel, and also on WhatsApp 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on in the program. But before all of that, here's our quote.
All right, good morning. Today's I quote says, "There's nothing new under the sun." Solomon of Ecclesiastes.
Morning, Jokal.
Good morning. Wait,
Yeah.
Ecclesiastes 1:9.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Mhm.
Nothing new under the sun.
That's right.
Yeah, just like that.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to add, nothing to delete.
Nothing at all. That's
all
it.
right. The first watch will be back after this break.
Hearts and Hands invites you to a fundraising concert for Reverend Glenn Graham. He has given us songs that have kept us going through the years.
When you run from the preacher man, 6 men.
And now it's our turn to lend a helping hand. Join us on Sunday, April 27 at 6 p.m. at the Maypen New Testament Church of God for this fundraising venture.
I've got a happiness in my soul.
Come and see Lubert Levy, Fabian Wright, Sebastian Braham, Prince Hall, Glenn Cruz, Zazan, Venetia Stone, Oliver Ashley, Derek McFarlane, Tarsha Williams, Edwin Myers, Mr. Handsome, and more. MCs Nadine Blair and Markland Edwards. Admission, a love offering of $2,000. It's the fundraising concert to help our brother, Reverend Glenn Graham. Sunday, April 27 at 6 p.m. at the Maypen New Testament Church of God. All of us, for one of us. Let's do this. See you there. A Love 101 endorsed event.
Yes, I believe in so far.
I call you holy.
The Welcome Park New Testament Church of God, in association with Donnie McClurkin Ministries and Allow to Shine Ministries under the leadership of Nadine Blair, presents a Pastors Forum and Evening of Worship. The Pastors Forum and Evening of Worship will be held on Thursday, May 1, 5 p.m. for the Pastors Forum, 7 p.m. for the Evening of Worship, featuring Audience of One, the Welcome Park New Testament Church of God worship team, and Pastor Donnie McClurkin. Admission is free. Bring an offering. That's the Pastors Forum and Evening of Worship presented by Donnie McClurkin. Don't miss this time of worship and fellowship. Thursday, May 1. See you there.
Happy be a man, got to be a man.
On the next episode of The Mailbox, we will be focusing on God's Grace Part 2. God's grace signifies God's favor, kindness, and love bestowed upon humanity, offering forgiveness, salvation, and the means to live a righteous life. You are invited to hear the continuation of Mr. Paul Park's testimony from not being able to read after high school to guidance counselor, lecturer at GC Foster College, and published author. The mailbox is brought to you by Solid PVC Pipes, manufactured in Jamaica by Fosrich Company Limited. That's Wednesday, April 23 at 5:30 p.m. only on the family station. Love 101, the mailbox, Monday.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Now, the call for United Caribbean is not new, but we're hearing more of it in recent times. It may have its merits and, of course, challenges, but is it the answer to the ills that have been plaguing us? What would a United States of the Caribbean look like? And what would be its pros and cons? Well, to answer these and other questions, we have online Pastor Percival Palmer, Associate Pastor of Fellowship Tabernacle Church in Kingston, and the Reverend Dr. Patrick Tanis, banker, financial advisor in Barbados, and the Executive Director of the John Maxwell team. Good morning to you both.
Morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Great. Good to have you both. Thanks for joining us. Now, gentlemen, what are your opening thoughts re the formation of a United States of the Caribbean? Beginning with you, Reverend Dr. Tanis.
Good morning to everyone from Barbados, our brothers and sisters in Jamaica and across the world. First of all, I want to say that I am one of the fond lovers of Jamaica and Jamaicans. I love the culture, I love the people, and we Barbados and Jamaica are far as far as the archipelago, but they're very close in their heart. It's very close countries, and the people of Jamaica and Barbados get along very well. And so my thoughts are that if you look at Jamaica and Barbados, we could do it, and we could bring everybody with us, right? It's an amazing synergy. We bring to each other different scopes of merit. And my thoughts then initially would be there are pros to it, and then there are cons in the execution and the making of it happen. There are the financial issues, there are the social issues, and then there are the simple things like the currency issues and settlement. Things like that are huge. They sound little, but they're very big. So my thoughts are that as long as we map the framework with the intelligence and the skills that we have within the region, and we put God first, then we can make it happen, and it will be glorious.
Hearing you loud and clear, Pastor Palmer. Your opening thoughts.
Like what Reverend Channing has said, let them give him praises in the islands of the sea, Isaiah 42:6. As he has said, there are pros and cons to that being reality. But let's look at a bit of the history. I'm pro Caribbean, pro CARICOM, pro Carista, all the different things that have happened. And even from a church basis, there are a lot of things that we do across the Caribbean which says that it can be done. But there are a lot of things I believe that mitigate against such a union happening, albeit that we tried in 1958 and in 1961 with what happened with the West Indies Federation. One from 10 leaves north. That was the statement. I think it was the Bayesian or it was Eric Williams. One of them.
Eric Williams, yes.
Eric Williams said that. And so those gentlemen recognized then, even before you had the EU coming into formation, that there were a lot of pros to doing something together. We had common history of being slave colonies, even with the mixture of the different countries that were present in the Caribbean, because in the Caribbean, if you move, say, from Bahamas right down to Trinidad, you have English, you have French, you have Dutch, you have Spanish countries, and that's a major hindrance, one in terms of language. And then even with the background to us having had allegiance to different European countries, has impacted how we do things. And so there are pros, but there are cons. But as my brother says, under God, let them give him praises in the islands of the sea. It's something that was spoken prophetically, I believe, over our region. And if that is what God wants, it will become a reality amidst all of the different things that mitigate against it.
Yeah. No, it's interesting, Pastor Palmer, that you mentioned about the West Indies Federation, 1958, dissolved in 1962. I had that down to ask because what lessons could and should we learn from the history of that experience, would you say? Because they tried it.
Yeah, they tried it, but I think there were political things that were happening in their countries, like in our country, between the PNP and the JLP. And that is what caused us to pull out, because remember, they took they did a referendum on whether we'd be a part of the federation, but the local politics got in the way versus the bigger vision of what we could accomplish even greater. Because when you look at the population and the GDP, Reverend Channing, who is a financial person, spoke against it. You have Haiti, which is at $1,911 versus a Bermuda or Cayman Islands, which is GDP in terms of what the per capita income is. So you have that wide stretch in regards to the financial resources and the population that you're working with. So those things also mitigate against it, but what is impossible with man becomes possible with God.
And then, the quote that was mentioned earlier from Ecclesiastes 1 verse 9, there's nothing new under the sun, is apt here because what has changed? Are those not the same issues that are prevalent in our nation today and other Caribbean nations? That's for you, Pastor Palmer.
I think a lot of things have changed. I think about, there are some regional things that have worked for the Caribbean. The West Indies cricket team is one thing. The West Indies, UWI, University of the West Indies.
Yes.
We just recently celebrated the Carista Games, which was a sport that's education. It's just the political thing that gets in the way, because when you think about it in terms of what's happening in the region, and I've had the privilege of, I think, going to most Caribbean islands, even for a 24-hour period. And you see we are very similar in a lot of ways, but then there are some differences in terms of
the ideologies, the politics. Things. Yes.
Yeah, the politics,
Yeah, man.
And some of the times the politics of the bigger countries like Jamaica impact politics of the smaller countries, because look what happened. When the PNP had their conference, who was their speaker? Motley came.
Yeah,
Motley came.
Yeah.
So you understand how
stick up in politics. The politics that plays a big role. Stick up in right there, Pastor Palmer. And after the break, we're going to have comments from Reverend Dr. Tanis on the whole matter of the Federation and why it failed and what are the implications. Soon come back.
See how my other face bruise up? They beat me just because I said I'm tired.
I'm only 13, but they said if I work harder, they will make me go back home.
Me not have no birth paper nor no ID. Them have all of my documents them. Forced labor is one of the many forms of human trafficking. Report suspected cases of human trafficking. Call the nearest police station 119 or 888 PROTECT. A message from the Ministry of National Security.
CC Winans brings her More Than This tour to Jamaica, joined by Chevelle Franklin, Kevin Downswell, Prince Sar, Jean-Marc Wigan, MCs, IT, and Nadine Blair. Tickets are going fast. General 6,000, VIP 20,000, VIP 32,000. Limited time offer now. Get your tickets at select locations island-wide or online at sparopen.com. Follow at More Than This Jamaica on Instagram for more details. CC Winans, More Than This, King's House, East Lawns, Friday, August 1. Are you ready?
Mama work hard, for real. She do the most to send me and my brother go school. So, the dream was always to go to university. Well, I fulfilled 2 dreams with 1 Jane Bank savings plan, you know. I further my education and I make mama proud.
Save so you can make the par, travel far, graduate like a star.
Stop wishing you could. With your Jane Bank savings, you absolutely can. Jane Bank will help you find a way.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. And in this, the first watch, we are looking on a United States of the Caribbean as a renewed proposal, especially in light of what's going on in the global sphere. And in so doing, we have online the Reverend Dr. Patrick Tanis, who is banker, financial advisor in Barbados, and executive director of the John Maxwell team, as well as Pastor Percival Palmer, associate pastor of the Fellowship Tabernacle Church in Kingston. Before the break, we're talking about looking on history in regards to the West Indies Federation 1958. Reverend Dr. Tanis, any views on that? Any comments?
Yeah, first of all, he was correct about the West Indies Federation. Just some background information. The Prime Minister of the West Indies Federation was actually Sir Grantley Adams. And his grandson was at school with me, and his wife taught me at school in Barbados. And even though it failed, it was an interesting project. As you said earlier, nothing new under the sun. But the influence of the region, and we look at that influence and see how it has exported itself to the rest of the world, then we realize that there is something about the Caribbean that is unique, that we have influenced the world beyond our space, okay? And when we see that, for example, the person who is the real father of U.S. civil rights is a Barbadian. A lot of people don't know that. It's actually not Martin Luther King. It's a Barbadian. And he left Barbados at an early age. And when he went to the United States, he was the first black customs officer in Kentucky. And then he eventually ran for office, won twice to sit in Congress in the 1800s. And then he became a judge. He was a lawyer first, but did the first case in U.S. history that was won on the basis of desegregation and segregation. And his name is David Augustus Straker. All right. Okay. He is the one that triggered the civil rights movement. It's an amazing story. All right. And then when you look at the fact that in the region, you have modern day marvels, Usain Bolt from the very Jamaica, influencing the entire world, a world champion. The West Indies cricket, you said, but they're also in the arts and so on from the church. The top vocalist for President Obama was incidentally a Trinidadian, and his name was Whitley Phipps, born in Trinidad. A lot of people don't realize that. And if you hear a little barking in the background, I'm sorry, that's my dogs outside. But if you hear
born in Barbados. what then, Reverend Dr. Tanis, why we can't get our acts together then? I mean, with all of these outstanding individuals and with all of the ideology that we have, which seems to be similar.
We are approaching that right now. For example, the Caribbean Business Group. My wife is the head of the business sector in Barbados, but there's a Caribbean group that tested a blockchain transaction to clear customs and goods. The financial part worked well, but the customs and excise departments were not aligned properly as far as their documentation and their ASECUDO, which is the customs excise transaction base that's being used. So you have those things in place. A regional currency is easy. I designed, along with the team, the first central bank digital currency that worked on the planet, and it was in the OECS, for example. So we have the tech, we have the know-how. I mean, what we don't do is we don't sit down and focus on it. Now, if right now the regional Caribbean group of business leaders are focusing on integrating the business side of it, which is the most difficult side. Now, the political side is the easiest side because that's where the power lies. A decision can be made in each parliament to do this. But what's missing is the political will, right? So as far as the procedural side of it, it's the easiest side. But the most difficult side is the political will, which involves the challenge of releasing some of the autonomy of power, the autonomy of decision making. But it doesn't have to be. What has to happen is that there's a hybrid, a new thing that emerges from the political standpoint. Now, I ran for office, so I know about politics quite a bit, right? And you know, the leaders have to see the bigger picture and see that you don't have to have a prime minister of the federation anymore. What you can have is a senate of leaders that rotate pretty much like CARICOM, who represent by proxy and by delegation and by input the wishes of the entire region. Now, having said that, right, let's retreat and deal with what my colleague, Dr. Percy, said. And he spoke so eloquently, I'm going to have him come to Barbados and let's do a crusade together. but what we're gonna do is look at what he said about the language issues. Those islands that are not within our structure. I mean, Santo Domingo, the Dominican Republic, they have the biggest economy out of the islands. But the island with the most promise and with the most potential is actually Cuba. And Cuba has been reaching out to us to help it. And I met with one of the Miami Five, second in command of the Cuban government, right here in Barbados, with the pastor from the AME Church, the Bishop Zonders, who was sitting presiding over the region for the AME. And by the way, I am the apostolic leader for the Global Apostolic Alliance for the Caribbean. What we need to do is we need to put the church in the middle of it. The church has been the peacemaker, the visionary, conceptual movement sphere. Now, if the churches lead the way, right, the word is very clear. The word of God is very clear. What we allow on earth is allowed in heaven, and what we bind on earth is bound in heaven. We have the authority. We have the leadership. It's for us to get together as pastor leaders and as religious leaders in the church, the faith leaders in the church. If we get together and manage this process, the governments will fall in line. We have the authority, both spiritual, financial, and ethical. And we can pave the way and create something new that the world has never seen, which the world needs. Okay? So a mouthful.
So you seem to be in favor of it, hook, line, and sinker, Reverend Dr. Tanis. Are there any cons to it, though? What about the other side of the coin? What are the negatives that might be associated with such an association?
So I tend to see the glass as half full, even though it's half empty, right? As well. So if we focus on what could happen, and let me use some Hebrew. Inema tov humanahim shevit akim gamiyaha. Psalm 133. Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brothers to dwell together in unity. Now, if we expand our unity within the church system, we will have a zone of Christ being glorified, which was prophesied. So if it's prophesied, we have the basis to move on it. And if it's in scripture, we have the foundation to build on it.
You think it's prophesied? Am I hearing you that you're saying it has already been prophesied that this is going to come to pass?
Yes, the islands of the sea are commissioned. Yes, the islands of the sea are clearly commissioned in scripture and in 3 places to worship God uniquely. And so I believe that those prophecies embedded in the scripture, you would have also heard ministers who are from various time frames prophesying and expanding on that prophetically. So I believe it's a united call for the islands to do this, right? What I do believe is that the church should take the lead and build a framework on a godly basis, so that we don't wait for somebody to tell us another basis, but that we take the lead because we are supposed to be the head and not the tail. So the
Okay.
leaders in the church should take the initiative and move forward in our
Hearing you.
integration process within the faith,
Hearing you.
because we
Hearing
we
you.
we are the ones who are the ones that bring unity, right? That
Yes.
unity, as they shared in Hebrew, brings the anointing of God. And if we have that anointing across the entire region, then God is not going to be said to be a Bajan or
Hearing you.
Jamaican.
Hearing
He's
you
going
loud
to.
and clear, Reverend Dr. Tanis. Pastor Palmer, how would this United States of the Caribbean look? What are the distinguishing features, would you say? How would it work? Pastor Palmer?
I would, yes, you're hearing me?
Yeah,
Are you
hearing you
hearing
now.
me?
Hearing you now. Go ahead.
Okay. But one of the things, there are so many things that unite us versus what that separates us. So I would focus on those things. One of the things too, even okay, so there's the political, there's the economic that Dr. Channing spoke about. There's the legal, the Caribbean Court of Justice is in play already. It's just that
Which
again,
interestingly is there is some ambivalence in terms of the final
right.
you
And
know
but again,
among
there
us
is
Caribbean people. Yes.
yes. But again, I think there's the political, because if you were to take Jamaica, they agreed in principle that this would work on both sides.
Hold on there, Pastor. Your dogs as well making noise in the background. From
No, but I'm
Jamaica.
saying they have agreed in principle, but again, the political will to get it done. And unlike what Dr. Channing has said,
Yes.
we as the church presents, can be leaders in this in terms of calling the things that are not into being, and then begin to put in the structures that cause it to work. Because if you spoke about what's happening with the business leaders, because there are groupings across the Caribbean, it is just that, as he has said, what we thought it should be, it really won't work for now. So we need to come up with what is a hybrid. I like this, the idea of the hybrid where people represent their countries. There's not I would say a prime minister or a president of the Caribbean, United States of the Caribbean. There's somebody who is rotating because they're doing that presently. And that has worked well for us. People in CARICOM rotate the leadership of the business, and it has worked well in terms of it. And then with what has happened external to us, that is even pushing us closer to say, how can we work together to think about what is in the best interest of the people of the region? Not the leaders, but in terms of the best interest of the people of the region. And that I think is a vision that would pull us together and cause this to happen. Because a vision is what causes us to be united, and then the provision and the other things will work out. And I believe that the time is right for that to happen. With all of the cons against it, there are so many pros and cons to this thing to work. There's a Caribbean stock exchange.
Yes.
So there are lots of things that are in play that we need to just say, okay,
Yeah.
let's get this done.
Yeah.
Let's overcome the political hurdles and the insularities to make this thing work for us.
Yes. All right. Well, it seems as if both of you are in favor of it, and also you have been focusing on the positive aspects even more than the negative aspects. And with that in mind, maybe you should be going forward with this thing full throttle. All right. Thank you very much for joining us, gentlemen. Have a safe and productive day.
Thank you very much for having us, both. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Good morning and blessings.
Great. Listeners, the morning watch will return in just a moment.
Open a deposit account in the JN Bank Savings Streams promotion and save monthly for a chance to win an all expenses paid trip to Peru. Enter now. The time by JN Bank Savings Streams promotion is
7:30.
Recycling partners of Jamaica. Yeah, we got to make a change, and we have to do it now, can't wait for later. We put plastic in its place, and we all can agree that will be safer than in the gullies and in the drains. Recycling partners of Jamaica. We put plastic in its place. Well, I say no matter about your class or status or title, got to be responsible and recycle. Yes, we have talk about plastic buckle board. You have to make sure say you're the right type. So look for the triangle with the one heart oh. Well, I don't matter could a yellow or blue. You have to just make sure them empty, collect them plenty. Recycling revenue. So listen up, Jamaica. I'm saying it's time to make a change. Recycling partners of Jamaica. We put plastic in its place, and we all can agree that will be safer than in the gullies in the every veins. Recycling partners of Jamaica. We put plastic in its place.
When you say phosphorus, you say electrical. SWA cables, conduits, transformers, and breakers. When you say phosphorus, you say lighting, chandeliers, and more. When you say phosphorus, you say LEDs and solar water heaters. Phosphorus is electrical, lighting, solar, and LEDs. Visit us today, Kingston, Mandeville, and Montego Bay. Phosphorus.
Don't fall victim to deepfakes.
Watch out.
Protect yourself.
What is the
For more
on TV?
information, visit broadcastingcommission.org or
Here ya,
scan
baby.
the QR code on screen.
Deepfake. No deepfake can't catch me.
Junior, you know say AI can make something will look and sound just like you? One day Junior get a voice note from her granny. Say the food done, the medication done, and she need money urgently.
Need money urgently. But Miss Pat no like ask people for things.
And as so comes, Judy get suspicious.
So what she do?
She asks the neighbor to go check pan her. Junior, the lady quite alright over there make her Sunday dinner.
So the voice note a deepfake.
Yes, my love. Come, your food ready.
Right now it look like we have to outsmart the AI. But wait, I really want dege dumpling here, give me.
Me I wonder if AI can make one deep fake dumpling for you.
To learn more about deepfakes, visit www.broadcastingcommission.org.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's now look at newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. In the Observer, help coming. Mackenzie moves to ease residents' fears. Their houses will collapse. Also in the Observer, Education Ministry testing AI tools in schools to assist teachers. Okay. In the Gleaner, St. Mary taking steps to ensure that Taki's name lives on. Also, new report links gender-based violence to climate change. Wow. Loop News. U.S. Treasury Secretary says trade war with China is not sustainable. And also, real estate expert sounds alarm on outdated valuations. Those are some of the major stories and headlines in our newspapers. Coming up next, we'll read some of the feedback from our social media question. Would you want to see or be a part of a United States of the Caribbean? And tell us why. In so doing, leave a comment on our Facebook page and YouTube channel, Love 101 FM Jamaica, or WhatsApp 876-997-3125. Soon come back.
Have to be a man, got to be a man.
On the next episode of The Mailbox, we will be focusing on God's Grace Part 2. God's grace signifies God's favor, kindness, and love bestowed upon humanity, offering forgiveness, salvation, and the means to live a righteous life. You are invited to hear the continuation of Mr. Paul Park's testimony from not being able to read after high school to guidance counselor, lecturer at GC Foster College, and published author. The mailbox is brought to you by Solid PVC Pipes, manufactured in Jamaica by Fosrich Company Limited. That's Wednesday, April 23 at 5:30 p.m. only on the family station. Love 101, the mailbox. Monday.
So when they got man them there, no matter man the look and the tan them there. So not
Hey, 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 small people crew, it's me, Auntie Vashti, and I have some wisdom to share with you. Join me every discussion Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. on the Small People Show, where little voices make big sounds. Inside Discussion Wednesdays, we have meaningful discussion about life skills, safety, self-awareness, and how to be the best version of you. Don't miss out. Tune in this and every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. with me, Auntie Vashti, only on the family station. Love 101.
So sing with joy, let your spirit soar. Small people doing big things forevermore.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's now join Jokal for a look at how our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp friends answer today's question. Would you want to see or be a part of a United States of the Caribbean, and why? Jokal.
All right, so we have a response here from Cherry in Spanish Town. Cherry says, what we in the Caribbean need to do is come together as one, work together as one. Unity is strength. Put God first in whatever decision to be made. Churches need to come together, and the leaders, pastors, bishops help make that change on godly basis and put in structures that will and can work in the interests of the region and the people again. And the people, again, unity is strength. Break down the walls of political challenges and economical challenges in unnecessary areas. A kingdom that fights against itself will never stand.
Okay, a mouthful there from Cherry, preaching from Spanish Town. Thank you very much, Cherry, as usual. And so we segue into the second watch. A simple search of the word prayer leads to this definition: a way to connect with God, seek His guidance, and grow in intimacy with Him. In short, prayer is talking to God. There are also different types of prayer. In some corners of the world, prayer has been targeted and being put under the rule of the law. The most recent example would be Australia's Conversion Practices Ban Act 2024, which reportedly took effect last week. It effectively makes some prayers unlawful. So, what does this law say? And will it affect how prayers said or offered there? Well, to discuss this matter, we have joining us Shirley Richards, attorney at law and legal counsel of the Jamaica Coalition for a Healthy Society, and Pastor Harry Walcott, pastor of the Christian Life Fellowship Church and president and founder of Jamaica House of Prayer. Good morning to you both.
Good morning, Dr. Alan.
Yes, good morning, Miss Richards. Pastor Walcott with us? Not hearing you, Pastor. Final time. Pastor Walcott, not hearing you. Is he muted? All right. Okay. Seeing but not hearing. All right. Shirley Richards, you still with us,
Yes.
right?
Yes, I'm here.
Good. All right. Now, as far as you're aware, what does the aforementioned law in Australia state, and what effect has it been having on the Christians in Australia so far?
Okay, what effect? It was passed last year and was given a 12-month period for it to come into effect. The long title of the act is an act to ban practices directed to changing or suppressing the sexual orientation or gender identity of individuals, including including by creating offenses and a civil complaint scheme in relation to the practices and for related purposes.
Break that down for us, please, Shirley Richards.
So it's an act to ban practices directed to changing or suppressing the sexual orientation or gender identity of individuals, including by creating offenses and a civil complaint scheme in relation to the practices and also for related purposes. So that's the long title of the act. And it's now in effect, came into effect in this month in New South Wales, Australia. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And as you understand it, it is actually saying and doing what? Or seeking to do what to those who pray in Australia?
Well, it is seeking to my mind, just looking on it, it's part of an agenda, also worldwide agenda, because other countries have this type of legislation. US, I know they were trying to pass it in England. I don't think they did. Certain the countries in the EU. It is part of an agenda to impose affirmation of a harmful lifestyle. You know, one that for us as Christians is termed an abomination, the lifestyle. But this conversion ban basically makes it an offense, a criminal offense.
To pray for somebody who is so inclined that they do not go in that direction.
Yes, especially if you are praying with the person.
Wow.
Especially if you are praying with the person.
So if the person requests that type of prayer, it is still illegal?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
And I remember some years ago, a Christian psychotherapist lost her status in psychotherapy because she dared to offer counseling to a man who purportedly came in wanting advice, wanting counseling to assist him with restraining or assist him with his struggles concerning same-sex affection.
Wow.
So he came in, he fooled her, he was an undercover agent, and told her, asked her for assistance. And she told him, listen, I offer that based on Christian principles. He then reported her, and she lost her status as a senior accredited psychotherapist. So that's just an example, even with consent. Yes.
Yeah, something is going on there. Pastor Walcott with us now? Still having some technical challenges, Pastor. We're not hearing you clearly. Try again, please. Yeah, Pastor Walcott, still not hearing you. Okay. Now, Shirley Richards, your views on all of this. I mean, I don't think you're in favor of it, but what's behind it, and what do you think will be the outcome if it is not stemmed?
All right, I haven't seen it, but I am told that I've read that there is a government video in New South Wales, Australia. And the government video, the narrator declares there's nothing wrong with being LGBTQIA+. It is damaging and inaccurate to say that someone should or can be fixed or healed. And I'm reading, they go on to say that prayer, counseling, and pastoral conversations don't work and damage the entire community. Full stop. That is opposite to what we know as Christians, in that, certainly opposite to what the Bible teaches.
Yeah.
It teaches us to pray, and it also teaches us to
pray
put
for
off
others.
the old self, put on the new self.
And to pray
Such
for
were
others.
some of you, put to death sexual immorality and so on. So this isn't just this is a clash of worldviews.
Stick a
This is
pin.
a
Stick a
chat.
pin.
Okay.
Stick a pin
Mm-hmm.
right there, Shirley Richards. We're up on a break. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Cool dog!
Not a dog, not there for hole.
The workman them do a good job with the house though.
I can't complain. I just look a little smalls now for wire it.
Go talk to C and WJ Credit Union. Them have a house wiring loan of up to $150,000 for wire your house, so you can get power from JPS.
That's right. Get up to $150,000 and 3 years to repay with a CNWJ Credit Union house wiring loan. CNWJ Credit Union. Discover the benefits of belonging.
CC Winans brings her More Than This tour to Jamaica, joined by Chevelle Franklin, Kevin Downswell, Prince Sar, Jean-Marc Wigan, MCs IT and Nadine Blair. Tickets are going fast. General 6,000, VIP 20,000, VIP 32,000. Limited time offer now. Get your tickets at select locations island-wide or online at SpurOpen.com. Follow at More Than This Jamaica on Instagram for more details. CC Winans, More Than This, King's House, East Lawns, Friday, August 1. Are you ready?
Ready to experience 6 times more freshness in your clothes? Try Downy Scent Beads. Its fragrance is so amazing, you have to sniff it to believe it. Try Downy Scent Beads today. 6 times more freshness versus using detergent alone.
Thank God for Calvary. Thank Him for
Hearts and Hands invites you to a fundraising concert for Reverend Glenn Graham. He has given us songs that have kept us going through the years.
when you run from the preacher man. 6 men.
And now it's our turn to lend a helping hand. Join us on Sunday, April 27 at 6 p.m. at the Maypen New Testament Church of God for this fundraising venture. Come and see Lubert Levy, Fabian Wright, Sebastian Graham, Prince Hall, Glenn Cruz, Zazan, Venetia Stone, Oliver Ashley, Derek McFarlane, Tarsha Williams, Edwin Myers, Mr. Handsome, and more. MCs Nadine Blair and Markland Edwards. Admission, a love offering of $2,000. It's the fundraising concert to help our brother, Reverend Glenn Graham. Sunday, April 27 at 6 p.m. at the Maypen New Testament Church of God. All of us for one of us. Let's do this. See you there. A Love 101 endorsed event.
Yes, I believe in go far.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. And this is Second Watch. We are asking the question, what happens when prayer answers to the law? And we're focusing on this new law that has been implemented in Australia in regards to persons praying and praying for others. And in so doing, we have online Shirley Richards, attorney at law, legal counsel for Jamaica Coalition for Healthy Society. And I hope we have online Pastor Harry Walcott, pastor of the Christian Life Fellowship and president and founder of Jamaica House of Prayer. Let me just do a spot check here. Pastor Walcott, are you with us?
I'm with you. I hope you can hear me now.
Good, we're hearing you now. Okay, good. Welcome. Yeah, your thoughts on all of this that has been shared so far, so eloquently by Shirley Richards?
Well, it really is amazing to think that something like this can happen. I mean, a few years ago, I wouldn't have thought that people would be arrested, especially in Western countries, for simply wanting to pray with somebody who even asks for prayer to deal with a particular issue. But it's not the only country. Australia, we have restrictions in countries like Nicaragua, Scotland, where the legislation is aimed at limiting protests near abortion clinics. And so they're saying they're saying prayer within 200 meters radius of the abortion facility could be deemed as illegal. And then you have Kyrgyzstan, Myanmar, and well, those are the countries I am aware of right now with these kinds of restrictions. But yes, it is amazing to think that this is happening, especially in Western nations. We know about restrictions, serious restrictions in the Middle East and other countries in that region.
Especially those that are led by Muslims.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, but the Christian is called to prayer as an essential part of our relationship with God. And so it is not something that we can negotiate. If you read in the scriptures, Daniel was told not to pray,
right,
to make a request of any God within the next how long. But he continued praying in spite of the decree.
Yeah.
And got into trouble because of that. So,
So Pastor Walcott, in Jamaica, you are known, you wear many hats, and one of them has to do with the Jamaica House of Prayer. From your perspective, how likely or unlikely is it for similar laws to be passed in Jamaica?
Well, I don't think it's a likely scenario right now in this season. I mean,
see, not Australia, it happened in Australia, that not necessarily regarded as anti-Christian.
No, but they have been taking a particular path over the last few years, and they have become quite restrictive in their response to church and church activities and Christians. But in Jamaica, I don't say it can't happen, but I think it would take quite a bit to change what's happening in Jamaica. But I won't say it can't happen because, as I said, a few years ago, I would not have thought that it could happen in certain countries, even in the in the UK.
Right.
But
yes. Things and times are changing. Shirley Richards, in light of that question and the response, what should we do or not do to ensure that such laws are not passed in Jamaica? Shirley Richards, from a legal perspective, yes.
Are you hearing me?
Hearing you now. Go ahead.
Right. I'm saying we have to keep the gap. We have to keep the gap between what we consider to be natural and what is unnatural. And that's one of the reasons we advocate retention of the Boundary Law. This law helps us to understand and remember, because our memories fade, and with social media and so on, pressing everything, and the certain individuals having access to children in school, so we are coming under, population is coming under pressure to think otherwise. But as church people, we have to help people to understand what is natural sexual behavior and what is unnatural. The Boundary Law helps us to do that. And we say, keep the law. And we have to also remember, we have to take heed, because in America, these laws exist. In Canada, these laws exist. It's not just in the far off countries, And these laws are almost similar, can be compared to the laws in Islamic countries, which make it an offense to change religion. So, in a sense, this new thinking based on a false understanding of the human nature is now being regarded as there is to be a monopoly. You're not to think otherwise. It's being imposed. It's being imposed on population.
But Mr. John, what really does the Boundary Law state? I know you won't be able to, or I'm not sure, but for you to say it directly, but how do you paraphrase it?
Well, it makes it an offense to have buggery.
Which is what?
And buggery is anal penetration.
Right.
And either between man and man or man and woman. classified as an unnatural offense and a criminal offense. All I'm saying is that that law helps us to keep the gap.
Yeah.
And so you ask, should we not, what should we do or not do? And certainly that's my number one thing. Listen, keep that law. It helps to keep the gap. And of course, Pastor Harry mentioned prayer. We need to pray, keep on praying, and we need to help our congregations and our people generally, especially our children, to understand the difference between natural and unnatural.
Right. And how do you respond to those who say that you could still have the Buggery law retained, but still a law like this that we are discussing from Australia could be implemented at the same time? Because that law is not directed to the Buggery law or any Buggery law, right? It is banning prayer that seeks to suppress the sexual orientation of individuals.
You are right. Strange things do happen, but it certainly would give us a basis for objecting to such a law. It would give us a basis, a firm legal basis for objecting to such a law. And so we have to have our eyes open in terms of what is being passed in our parliament. I know the advocates, the LGBT advocates, have proposed that such a law. So we have to keep our eyes open. And there are homosexuals who, thank God, have been helped, greatly helped in putting aside homosexual practices as a result of intervention by the church.
Yeah, by prayer. Prayer and counseling.
By prayer and counseling,
Right,
thank you.
right.
By prayer and counseling. There
Right.
are homosexuals who have been helped. I
Right.
think Pastor Harry can testify to that there are homosexuals who have been helped.
Yeah.
You know.
Pastor Walcott, you want to come in there?
Yes. Of course, many homosexuals have been helped by the right kind of counseling. But before we end, I just would want to just make an encouragement, or to encourage those believers who want to know how to negotiate the space when you have this kind of restriction. And we don't have it here yet, but the Bible does tell us how to respond in the case where you have conflict between civil and being obedient to the civil authorities and our Christian and to our spiritual responsibilities and faithfulness to God. And that is to be respectful, but we're going to obey God rather than man when it comes to things like praying and counseling people who need help. And I just want to encourage Christians to give attention to what is happening, because this is just one of a number of different areas of oppressive, restrictive activities. So prepare your heart.
And I guess both of you would want to add to it that Christians need to be prepared to suffer the consequences.
Yes.
If laws like these come into being, persons may be locked up, persons may be prosecuted, and worse things could happen. We need to be prepared for that, to suffer. Correct?
Yes.
Right, but as long as we can, with the help of the Lord, let's just keep the law. Let's just keep those laws
that we already have in place. Yes.
Keep the laws that we already have in place, because once we get rid of them, there is a cascade of other things coming behind them. That is just the front, the sting. Laws with greater sting come behind that. So
we need to be vigilant.
We need to be vigilant. So as long as we can, let us open our eyes, let us be vigilant, let us do what we can. We have undemocratic means by which we can make our voices heard, and let us not be deceived by the current propaganda. Let us go back to the word and to pray.
Yeah. Well said, lady and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a safe and productive day.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Tyler.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, listeners, for being with us. Join us again tomorrow when we'll continue to set the stage for discussion of topical and the controversial issues. For information or get copies of this program, call our production department at 876-968-9596-7. This, of course, has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and our guests. I'm Dylan Toussaint, returning you to Love in the Morning with Jokal Dyer.